if you watch self-improvement YouTube content and you still feel like you are still wasting a lot of your time and still not being productive, then this video is exactly going to be for you. So when I got into self-improvement in the beginning, mostly because of YouTube, right? I had this same dilemma. When I started on self-improvement, first started watching any kind of self-improvement YouTube videos in the beginning, what happened to me was, it was the same thing. I watched a lot of self-improvement YouTube videos. I would say it was for hours in a single day. Every single day I used to watch self-improvement content for hours. I don't know the exact metrics, but it was like a lot of time was just consumed by just that. And I used to think that, well, it's not productive, and you know what? It's just, if I'm going to waste my time like this, you know, self-improvement YouTube is just not worth it. At some point I just started feeling like it's it's just not worth it. You shouldn't watch self-improvement content, because then you just get addicted to the same stuff. Like you divert your attention from like the video games, the social media, the whatever, the like the normal kind of content to this self-improvement content. But then you're still wasting like exactly the same amount of time. Like if you're wasting 10 hours a day previously, now you're still wasting 10 hours a day. Now it's just what's different right now is just you're watching self-improvement content. And I just thought that it was like some kind of a cope, right? That you are convincing your brain, telling it that you're improving yourself, but then you're not improving yourself actually, because you're just processing all of that information into your brain and like watching YouTube content about self development, but not actually using any of the tips, not actually applying anything into your life, not being productive. But you know what? That's actually not true. This realization came to me today about at 12 p.m. So what happened was, I had a bit of an urge to watch porn, and then I resisted it for some time. Then I watched a self-improvement video. It was a kind of a podcast. And like after watching the podcast, I watched it for half an hour. So I did waste my time. But the point was, after watching that video, I no longer had any amount of urge to jack off or to watch porn. Like before that, the urge was like just on the verge of it, and I might have just watched porn or masturbated at least without porn. But as after like watching that video for half an hour, I had literally no urge, and so I didn't do it. So that made me realize that it just saved. It might have took half an hour of my time. It did. It really did. But it did save me from actually, eventually watching porn, jacking off, and which would have then took half an hour to 1 hour, and then I would have that guilt after it, and like like my motivation would have gone down. Like I would have felt bad about it, guilty about it, and then even more time would have been wasted, and all of the things I would do, I would just not be efficient at them. So even if it took half an hour of mine, I would say it saved me more than 3 to 4 hours. So that made me realize that self-improvement content, just watching self-improvement content and doing literally nothing with that information, is still better than doing all of the bad habits. So let's just compare the two situations. So let's take me as an example, the younger 13-year-old, 14-year-old Adikshit, right, who was just beginning to go on self-improvement, okay? And he started watching self-improvement videos. And well, let's take the other guy as, let's say, any fictional character. Let's say he's Ravi, okay? So this Ravi guy, he's just a normal guy. He wastes, let's say, 10 hours per day playing video games, watching porn, jacking off, consuming Netflix, and scrolling social media, okay? So that's Ravi. He wastes 10 hours per day doing all of that, okay? And here's me, Adikshit, okay? Both are like 14 years old, and Adikshit, like the younger version of me, that guy also wastes 10 hours per day, right? But the difference here is, he like jacks off very less frequently compared to Ravi. So let's say Ravi jacks off every single day, and Adikshit, the younger me, jacks off, let's say, once in 2 months, okay, or once in a month, something like that. But Adikshit wastes that 10 hours of his day just watching self-improvement content, okay? He just watches self-improvement content all the time, from this video, from this YouTuber to the next one, and maybe he also follows self-improvement like on Twitter or whatever. But he just consumes mostly like 99% of the time he's just consuming self-improvement content. And this guy Ravi is like, he's just wasting his time on the normal shit that the average people do, right? So they both waste same time per day, 10 hours, and they're both the same age. And also, like, to keep everything clear, like Ravi, outside of those bad habits, is just the normal average guy, doesn't do anything. And Adikshit, also outside of the self-improvement, he's just the average guy. He applies none of the information that he watches in actually self-improvement content, so he's not productive at all. So like the rest of the day for Ravi and Adikshit is just the same. Just the 10 hours is the difference, right? What happens is, eventually, it's like this. The comparison is like, you have two kinds of poison. Adikshit is taking the poison that will harm him. It will hurt him in the short term, but in the long term, it will give him results, okay? And Ravi, he's taking the poison that will not just harm him in the short term, it will lead to his death in the long term. Okay, so Ravi is just going to completely destroy himself because of the poison he has, and Adikshit, he will hurt himself, harm himself in the short term, but in the long term, things will get better for him eventually. Okay, so how this goes is both keep wasting 10 hours per day, but then 2 months, 3 months go by like this, and Ravi is still doing the same things, but now he's wasting 11 hours per day. Okay, and well, Adikshit, like previously he was wasting 10 hours of his day, but now here's a difference. Okay, so there's a difference. Now he's wasting 9 hours per day watching self-improvement content, and he goes to the gym for 1 hour. Okay, so that's the difference. Now let's go 1 year later. Right now Ravi is still doing the same things, but now he's wasting about 13 to 14 hours per day. On the other hand, Adikshit, 1 year later, he's wasting only 4 hours with watching self-improvement content, and he goes to the gym for 1 hour, studies for 3 hours, and has a good friend group that he goes to play football with for 1 hour. And the rest of the 1 hour, he focuses on meditation, journaling, and like the other self-improvement stuff. So he's actually starting to apply what he has learned from self-improvement content into his life. So what's the point that I'm trying to come at here? That if you think right now that you're just watching self-improvement content on YouTube and it is wasting your time, trust me, it is not. It's not like that in the end. It's not going to turn out like that in the end. Things will change. Because the thing is, if you say that wasting 10 hours of your day doing the bad habits and watching self-improvement content for 10 hours is the same thing, then you have no idea like how big of a difference it can create over the long run. In the short term, you're just wasting the same amount of time, but it's like self-improvement is kind of, over time it will inspire you, motivate you, and change you. But the bad habits, they'll just keep destroying you every day. And in the long run, you will change. Eventually, you will change. You will realize that what, I'm wasting a lot of time on the self-improvement content, and you will actually start to think that I've learned so much from the self-improvement content. Now I actually want to use these things, and the motivation will just come if you like the content and you follow it, and you actually become like the people that you follow on YouTube, whoever it is. If you're genuinely watching like good self-improvement YouTubers, in the end it will click inside of your brain that maybe I should go out and apply some of this stuff, and you will start doing it. And when you start doing it, you will just feel good, and then just go ahead with it. And there will come a point like your self-improvement content, that consumption, it will just reduce to like very less. But on the other hand, Ravi, he's just like, that's a dead end. Like if you keep doing the bad habits, it won't change you. Like there's one possibility for Ravi, right? I just learned this term from the YouTube community, from the online space of like self-improvement. I don't exactly know when I heard this, but it's something like this. It's called FTE, and it like the full form of that is fuck this event. So that means like like people like Ravi, if you're wasting like 10 hours a day on your bad habits, like as I was too at one point of time, what happens is you have like this FTE, right? So it's an event where you just regret whatever you have been doing till now, and then you want to like destroy all of this stuff and like burn it, and you get very angry at yourself only and blame yourself for whatever you have been doing till now, and then you have this new urge to just change yourself and become better. So that kind of event, maybe like, let's say for an example, like if Ravi is watching just too much porn and masturbating a lot, and then one day what happens is even after like watching porn and trying to jack off, he just can't get to ejaculation. Like that guy is going to feel like incapable of something, and it's going to hit him in the head that like, fuck, I can't live my life like this. It's just so fucking depressing that now I cannot even ejaculate. So after that point, Ravi might just change. But then that's the point, like it's not going to be very easy for Ravi to change, because it's just about the compound effect that whatever you have been doing till now, chances are you will just keep doing it like after this too. So if you're in this phase right now and you think that self-improvement content is just wasting my time and I should stop watching it, then I think that that's not the case here. I believe that you should just continue watching self-improvement content like for the same amount of time that you're watching right now, and literally just simply just waste that time, because in the end, like after some point, you will have that influence, you will have the inspiration and the motivation required, and you will change. If you had to choose in the end, like exactly same lifestyles, 14-year-old Adikshit, 14-year-old Ravi wastes 10 hours on the bad habits, and Adikshit just watches 10 hours of self-improvement content, then you should just choose Adikshit, because in the end it will pay off. You might not realize that right now, but in the end it will just be worth it, because like if everything is just the same, then the self-improvement content always wins, because it's at least like that saying that something is better than nothing is just like that. Like it's exactly like that. Even though you are still wasting time, still not being productive, just coping with yourself, in the end it will pay off. Like the bad habits, they're not leading to like literally anything. They are not leading to anything. Self-improvement content is still leading to something in the end. And that's it for today's video. Thanks for watching.